On today's Game of the Day, we are taking a look at a Wendy Adams deck built by Everyone Look. This is Wendy Adams, the Pacifist. Now, there are a couple of reasons this deck caught my eye over on Arkham DB. The first being is that it is a Pacifist deck. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Pacifist decks, the idea is to run through scenarios killing as few enemies as possible, preferably none at all. I'm not too sure you can call it an archetype, but pacifist decks have been around since the beginning of the game. The first one I remember seeing was built by Shekel. It was a Jenny Barnes deck that ran through the Dunwich Legacy, trying not to kill anything except for the broods in Undimensioned and Unseen, since you don't have any choice in that regard. That inspired me to build my own pacifist deck. It was a Rex Murphy deck that I ran through the Dunwich Legacy, and it did okay. I don't think I finished the campaign because I was really struggling. I don't think the card pool at the time really supported playing it out of Rex, but it was worth a shot. And so Everyone Look here has built a Wendy Adams deck that tries to make it through the scenarios without killing anything. And revisits that. Now, the other reason this deck caught my eye is that it is built with a restrictive card pool. There are several content creators. I know JP and Matostrophic have been talking a lot about building decks with a limited card pool because of Asmodee's difficulties that it has had shipping product to players. So there have been a lot of complaints on the Reddit and Facebook forums about people just being unable to get packs. And so content creators have been taking another look at decks using a limited card pool. So perhaps the core set and a couple of packs, building a deck from that and showing what it can do. Now, Everyone Look challenges themselves here by building this Wendy. Not only is it a pacifist deck, but it's a pacifist deck that uses only one core set and the 6 Mythos packs and the deluxe box from the Circle Undone expansion. So there's just one core set, and the whatever Survivor and Rogue cards were released in that cycle. So let's take a quick look at the deck. We've got 2 copies of Flashlight. Obviously, that's good for getting clues. We've got 1 copy of Rabbit's Foot. In case we fail skill tests, we can draw a card. We have 1 copy of Leo DeLuca to take extra actions. 2 copies of Drawing Thin to gain resources and take action, gain card draw. Obviously, this deck is not taboo compliant, but I wouldn't expect it to be so, given that it is already playing with a restricted card pool. 1 copy of Investments in there to gain to generate some resources. 2 copies of Track Shoes. No surprise there. We expect to see those type of cards that will boost Wendy's agility to 5 and give her a little more mobility and help evade enemies. 1 copy of Look What I Found. 2 copies of Belly of the Beast. So if we can evade enemies, we can discover clues that way. 1 copy of Elusive, which I haven't played in quite a while because it has been on the taboo list. 1 copy of Emergency Cash. 2 copies of Intel Report. 1 copy of Lucky. 2 copies of Swift Reflexes, and 2 copies of Trial by Fire. Now, the skills package is Guts, Manual Dexterity, Perception, and 1 copy of Survival Instinct. Now, I did make one change from Everyone Look's original design. Their version of the deck included 1 copy of Backstab and 1 copy of Sneak Attack, just in case they had to kill something. I've decided to go all in on the pacifist elements here, and I swapped those out for 2 copies of Decoy from the Circle Undone cycle, which helps automatically evade enemies and whatnot. So the change is in keeping with the theme of the deck, and I think it also helps boost the evasion a little bit. So this should be a very interesting playthrough. Given that Everyone Look built the deck based on 1 core set and the Circle Undone cycle, that I think restricts us to either playing the Return to the Night of the Zealot, not the Return to, or the Circle Undone. Now, playing the Gathering would be interesting, but we are going to challenge ourselves and play the Witching Hour. Now, this is going to be quite difficult, I think, not so much for the pacifist element, but just because toward the end of this scenario, you end up being at the, I think it's the Witch's Circle with a net, and she summons all the witches there. And since we're not killing the witches, there's going to be a lot of witches there, which is bad. And we will need to gather the clues there, which is going to be difficult, of course, if there's a lot of enemies there. So we are going to really need to be careful with how we advance the act deck in order to trigger that right when we want to, so we can basically jump in there, grab all the clues we need, and end the game as quickly as possible. The other strategy we can use is if we can generate enough resources over the course of the game, we can play intel report to grab those clues at a distance. Now that's going to cost, if we want 2 clues at 2 locations away, that's going to cost us 6 resources. So that's steep, and I don't know if there's enough resource generation in the deck to do that. Investments, if we can get that down early enough, that could get us one for sure. But with just 1 copy of emergency cash, we're going to need to get cards like Drawing Thin down in order to generate those resources. To add a little more challenge, since we are playing the Witching Hour, I decided that we would accept our fate, so that the deck does include 1 copy of the Tower Weakness, which is quite nasty. And of course, we get to add Ace of Rods to our deck as well. So that is the deck. I have no idea how this playthrough is going to go. I think one of the biggest challenges for me is going to remember Wendy Adams' reaction. I haven't played Wendy in quite a while, and it's easy to forget that I can discard cards to redraw chaos tokens. That said, I'm going to have to be very careful with which cards I discard, because we definitely need to build up toward the end and set ourselves up so we are in a good position to try to finish this scenario off as quickly as possible. Let's swap over to Octagon. We are set up. Now, I really I do quite like the idea of pacifist decks. I think it's very much in keeping with sort of the Lovecraft's original intent in his stories, and in the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game as well. Investigators rarely confront enemies head-on because it can be such a fatal endeavor to face enemies. So investigators tend to do a lot more sneaking around and evading enemies than confronting them. While you can do that in the Arkham Horror LCG, it's a little more difficult. I'm not sure the card pool supports it necessarily, and that's not really a surprise considering most of FFG's Arkham Horror Files games are much more pulpy in nature and tend to, I mean, there's nothing stopping you from fighting Ancient Ones and elite enemies and whatnot. So I think it would be some interesting design space for MJ Newman to explore. And I think if she was to take a look at sort of building on pacifist decks and giving them a few more tools in order to play that way, it would be I would certainly be interested in doing that. I think it's an interesting way to play the game. Now, ask me after this game is done, because who knows what's going to happen here. Wendy is starting here at the Witch Haunted Woods, Lonely Tree, 2-shroud location with 1 clue. You cannot investigate this location while you have between 3 and 5 cards in hand. As a free triggered ability, we can choose and discard a card from our hand. And then an investigator at another location can draw a card. So we have not drawn a weakness for our deck, so let's shuffle those up and see what we get. We get the 13th Vision, so we will fail ties during skill tests. And we'll have to take 2 actions to discard the 13th vision. So not terrible. Not as bad as it could be. I mean, we already have the tower in our deck, so that's bad enough. Man, my mouth is so dry this morning. All right, well, let's draw our opening hand and see how we are starting things off in this game. We draw a Drawing Thin, Belly of the Beast, Swift Reflexes, Perception, and Intel Report. So, Drawing Thin... I think we want to keep Drawing Thin because that's going to get us some resources. Belly of the Beast is obviously not going to do us any good. Swift Reflexes... We'll keep the Perception. I really like Intel Report, but we're going to save that. We're going to mulligan that because we want it actually later in the game when we're confronting the witches at the circle. So we'll keep the Drawing Thin and Perception and draw 3. We get an Elusive, Track Shoes, and a Swift Reflexes. So my streak of drawing cards that I have mulliganed has continued. But that's a nice... I like Track Shoes, Drawing Thin, and Perception, so Elusive may come in handy later. We need to get some revealed locations on the board in order to do that. Now, let's gain our 3 actions and kick this game off. Now, we are at this restrictive location. We cannot investigate here while we have between 3 and 5 cards in our hand. So we either have to play a bunch of cards, which is kind of tricky. I guess we could play down our hand. We could play Track Shoes, Drawing Thin, then play Swift Reflexes to get ourselves an extra action. I mean, we could basically gut our hand here to get these clues. But is it worthwhile? Or do we just draw a card and do it that way? I feel like we probably want to play the cards rather than... So let's do it this way. We'll play Track Shoes. We'll play Drawing Thin for free. That's our second action. We can play Swift Reflexes for 2, which we get to immediately take an action. So we get another action back. That drops our hand into the right territory. We can play Perception in order to boost our intellect to go 5v2 during the investigate. Oh my god, we draw -4 to start off. Oh no. -4 Chaos Bag. I thought I was playing on standard. I've been playing on hard recently, but I decided we'd play on standard for this game. Okay, Wendy, do your stuff. We'll discard Elusive in order to redraw that token. We get a +1 this time. Okay. Well, we gutted our hand. We did get the clue, but we have no cards left in hand. However, getting that clue was important, and we get to draw a card thanks to Perception, which is key. So we get a Survival Instinct. No help at the moment, and we have 1 action remaining, so we will move to the this Witch Haunted Woods, which is the Witch Haunted Woods Overgrown Barn, 3-shroud location with 1 clue. When an enemy would spawn at a different Witch Haunted Woods location, spawn it at this location instead. then it makes an immediate attack against each investigator at this location. I don't think that's really going to affect us in any way. So it is just a clue we need to grab. That is going to wrap up turn number 1. During the upkeep phase, we draw a perception, so we have a little bit more investigation. And we are going to go to the Mythos phase. It is turn 2. 1 of 8 Doom. We draw our first encounter card, which is Racked. We are -1 on each of our skill tests. The first skill test we perform each round is -1, and we have to test 3 willpower to get rid of it. So, do we blow our first action on a Racked? Probably. Because what we could do, we're already going to probably fail it. So let's draw. So let's increase the skill test by on Racked by 2. Actually, this might work out very well with drawing thin. We will increase the difficulty of the skill test by 2 to gain 2 resources or draw 1 card. So let us. I think we need to rebuild our hand. So the rack skill test will go up to 5, and we are at 3. We are at 3 versus 5. Chaos Bag throws us a skull. That's a -1, I believe. And for each point we fail by, we discard the top card of the encounter deck. So we were at 3. We go down to a 2. So we were 2 versus 5. So we discard the top 3 cards. We pitch a Bedeviled, a Dissonant Voices, and a Witch. A Coven Initiate. But we do get a card out of the deal, so that's good. So we get a Decoy. That was our first action. Second action, now we can investigate here with less threat from the Racked. So we will throw Perception to this. We are going to go 5v3. Chaos Bag says that's a skull. That's a -1. So we succeed. We grab this clue. And we draw another card. We get a flashlight. Nice. Okay. Let's move. We might just sit on this Racked as long as we can and just use it to fuel our card draw and resource generation. All right. We're going to move to this location, the next one in the line. Witch Haunted Woods Hermit's House. 4 shroud location, 2 clues. Forced after any number of clues are discovered from this location, each investigator at this location must discard an equal number of cards at random from his or her hand. I'm not sure I like this location. I think I am going to use my track shoes to try to move past this location. So we're going to go 4v. We are actually, our agility is now 5. So we're going to go 5v3 to attempt to move to the next Witch Haunted Woods location. Chaos Bag gives us a +1, so we will skip over that location and move to this one. That's a bit better. 1 shroud location with 2 clues. When the last clue is discovered from the Child's Treehouse, we spawn the topmost enemy in the encounter discard pile at this location. If there are no enemies, we have to discard 1 until we find one. So we know we've got a Coven Witch, Coven Initiate in the deck, in the discard pile. So we want to, we're going to need to grab those. We'll probably need to spawn it at some point, but we want to wait on that. Ideally, I'm hoping maybe we can draw the Look What I Found. It's just we only have one copy with just the one core set. It'll be tricky to do this. All right, well, let's continue on. No enemies to worry about. We get Wendy's amulet. So we can play the topmost event in our discard pile as if it was in our hand. What do we have here? Topmost event is elusive. Too bad that Swift Reflexes is down one, but we could get that elusive back if we manage to play the elusive. We've also got decoy in our hand, so those are the events we're working with. It's just a matter, do we want to play that card? Because we have a flashlight, which seems ideal here. All right. It is turn number 3, 2 of 8 Doom. Our encounter card is going to be Ancient Evils. So that's easy to deal with. We just add a Doom. Speeds up the clock a little bit. Other than that, not an enemy, so that is fine by me. We will gain our 3 actions. I think as our first action again, we will use Drawing Thin to raise the difficulty of the racked test by 2. So we're going to go 5v3 again. Chaos Bag says Skull. Again, we're discarding the top 3 cards of the encounter deck because we went down to 2. So it was 5v2, so we discard 3 cards. There's the Priestess of the Coven. Glad to see her down there. There's another copy of Racked and a Coven Initiate. Okay. But we have the choice of gaining 2 resources or a card. Technically, that happens before the skill test. So what do we want? A card or 2 resources? I think we want resources at this point. So we will gain 2 resources. Let's spend 2 of them to get the flashlight down. And as our final action, we will investigate, spend our supply off the flashlight, and go. We're going to go 3 versus 0. So, barring an auto fail, we get a 0, we get a clue. I think we need 5 clues in order to super advance, so we're going to try our best to do that. We get a manual dexterity, so not a big help right now, but potentially later when we need to evade enemies, that will be helpful. We go to turn 4, 4 of 8 Doom on the agenda. Temperance. 14. Encounter card is Diabolic Voices. Now this is potentially nasty. We need to check if we have another Diabolic Voices in the deck. We do not. No Diabolic Voices in the discard pile, so we're going straight up. We are going 3v3. Since the rack kicks in. So for each point we fail by, we have to discard a card at random from our hand. Am I concerned about this? I don't think I want to Drawing Thin this one because it will be costly. 3v3. Odds aren't great. But the only card I'd kind of like to have is Wendy's Amulet. And even that so we'll just go straight up. 3v3, Chaos Bag says -2, so we're going to have to discard 2 cards at random. We lose a manual dexterity and our decoy. So we keep the amulet, which is the only card we wanted really to keep. Be nice to have decoy for when the enemies start to show up, but I'd rather keep the amulet because then I can play the decoy from my discard pile if necessary. So, when we discover this final clue, we are going to have to spawn an enemy, which at the moment I believe is a Coven Initiate. And when she spawns, we discard the top 2 cards of the encounter deck, but she's easy to evade. So let's do that. Let's get this last clue. We'll spawn her, then evade her, and then move to the final location. So we will go 3v0. Chaos Bag says skull, that's a -1, so we pass. We will grab a clue. We will spawn the initiate. So she shows up. And we will attempt to evade the initiate. Actually, we need to discard the top 2 cards of our deck, of the encounter deck first. Evil's Past and Frozen in Fear. Don't mind seeing Frozen in Fear in the discard pile. So we're going to try to evade her. We're going 5v2. Chaos Bag says -1, so she is evaded. Throw her up here. Okay, and we have 1 action left, which we will use to move to the final Witch Haunted Woods location, which is the Witch Haunted Woods Abandoned Mine. 2 shroud location with 1 clue. Choose and investigate. You cannot investigate this location while you have between 3 and 10 resources. So we need to draw down our resources slightly in order to investigate here, which we can do with Wendy's amulet. We're going to go up to 5. We can drop ourselves 3. No, we're going to go to 4. Then we can play Wendy's amulet to go back down to 2. And then we can investigate there. We get a Guts during the upkeep phase. Little bit of protection against all of the willpower treacheries that are in the Circle Undone cycle. I actually quite like this. I mean, I've given the Circle Undone cycle a lot of shit over the years, but I do quite like this particular scenario, as well as At Death's Doorstep. Both of them are excellent, as are most of the scenarios in the deluxe boxes. Okay, well, what we can do, we can draw a card with Drawing Thin next turn against the Racked. And then we can investigate this. We can play the amulet and then grab the clue. That's our plan. Mythos phase 5 of 8 Doom. It is turn 5. Encounter card is another. That is not good. Diabolic Voices. That is going to get a +1 because we know there is a Diabolic Voices in there. So we are actually going 4v3 because of the Racked. We're going to commit the guts to that. Man, this could lock us out of this location, which would suck. But there's nothing we can do about it. Again, we don't want to use drawing thin on this because we'll end up just discarding our entire hand. So we're up to 5v4. Chaos Bag says tablet. That's a -1. And if we fail the test, we draw the bottommost treachery. We did not fail. We went 5v4. We get a -1, so we pass. That's a relief. Otherwise, we potentially would have locked ourselves out of this location because we would have had too many resources. We get to draw a card. There's another copy of Swift Reflexes. Getting that amulet down could be very good now because we can take multiple actions with Swift Reflexes if it's the top card in our discard pile. All right. So there's no point in using Racked or using Drawing Thin on the Racked. What we can do is we need to play down our resources by playing the amulet. And this also turns our Elder Sign into an auto succeed, which is good. We can play, so we get 2. Now we can investigate. We'll spend our final supply off the flashlight to go 3v0. Chaos Bag gives us a -1, so we succeed. So that is our second action. Now, I would love to have those 2 clues. We can also get 2 clues if we advance. We're going to have to play dodgeball with the goat spawn for a while. But we can do that. So let's advance. So we'll spend 2 clues. So at the end of the round, it's at the end of the round. Okay, I need to read cards again. So at the end of the round, we can advance. I feel like we need resources. Or cards. Taking an extra action doesn't do us any good at the moment. I guess we could, well, do we get rid of try to get rid of the Racked now? I mean, we could try to get rid of the Racked and make it more difficult. So we'd be going 5v4, but we get cards or resources. Yeah, let's do that. Let's try to get rid of the Racked, but we're going to use Drawing Thin on that to get us... we're going to go 5v4. We will draw a card. We get a Manual Dexterity. Chaos Bag throws us a -3, so we just fail. So that's fine. We will go to the end of the turn when we can do some stuff. We get, look what, oh, nice. Look what I found. Okay, we need to make sure we time this properly. Because if we can look what I found at the Witch Haunted Woods, where the 2 clues are, we could gain those clues, then use the amulet. Oh no, we're placing events on the bottom of our discard pile. What is our topmost event? Decoy. So we can automatically evade a non-elite enemy. Then we would go to elusive, then swift reflexes. So let's end of the turn we advance. So we will spend 2 clues. Alright, each investigator must randomly choose one of the set-aside Arkham Woods locations and put it into play. So this could be interesting. These 2 can come out for the moment. And we will look at all of these. Throw all of the Arkham Woods locations in there. All right, shuffle those up. We will grab one. So we are going here. No clues here. We are at the Arkham Woods Quiet Glade. Heal 1 damage or 1 horror. Limit once per turn. We haven't taken any damage or horror. But there are no clues there. We need to spawn a goat spawn in front of us. So the goat spawn shows up. Right? Spawn a goat spawn at our location. We can shuffle, and then we have to shuffle 1 set-aside copy of Demonic Piping into the encounter deck and place the other 2 in the discard pile. So those go into the discard pile, and this goes into the deck. And we're done with that. We also have a chance to evade the goat spawn, so we are going 5v3. Throw these back in here. We get a 0, so we get to exhaust and disengage from the goat spawn. All right. And that is our turn. Okay, so we need a clue. So if a single investigator spends the requisite number of clues, we can advance. Now I need to be very careful here with the timing. So we need 3 clues in order to get paths into Twilight, which triggers the endgame. So if we can... So we need at least 1 clue, which is over there at Witch Haunted Woods. So we might as well advance this as well, because I don't think it affects the game at all. It just gets us a little bit further down. So for the remainder of the scenario, investigators may now enter locations in front of everybody else. That's fine. So now we just need 1 clue, and then we can go to endgame. All right. Man, okay. So if we go to Witch Haunted Woods, we... no, it's gonna... I forget how the... We don't have intel report either, which is kind of annoying now, because we could use it. All right, we have some time though. We're not in any huge rush. We've got 6 of 8 Doom on turn 6. Our encounter card is going to be Evil's Past. That will go into our threat area and will likely trigger at some point this game. All right, Goat Spawn is exhausted for the time being. We need to go to the Witch Haunted Woods. Grab the clues there. Then we're going to advance And we're going to have to discover, is it 3 clues? I'm just going to check this quickly. I've played this scenario so many times, but I can't. It is 3 clues. Okay, that's what we need. Okay, so we do need 3 clues to get that. So the question is, do we save the look what I found? We're going to get a net and then a witch. The timing here is important because we need to try to get the right number of clues. What does Survival Instinct 0 do here? Yeah, it doesn't help. It's evade, immediately disengage from each other enemy engaged, and move to a connecting location, which, unless we get the goat spawn to come to us, but that doesn't really help us that much, so. Now, Swift Reflexes gives us an extra action. That would be very helpful. In order to get that extra action to get us another investigate and get those clues we need. All right, well, the goat spawn is exhausted. We're going to move here to the Witch Haunted Woods Hermit's house. We could use Drawing Thin to gain a card. We can either do the Racked or the... We could make that a 6 shroud location. And do we try to get rid of the Racked first? Probably. Yeah, let's try to get rid of the Racked. We're going to go 4v3. We're just going to try to get rid of it. Well, no, we're going to Drawing Thin on that. We're going to make it 4v... no. It's going to be 5 versus 3. And we draw a card. We get another flashlight. Okay. That's very helpful. Chaos Bag says Skull. We're going to discard. That's a -1, so we're going 5v3. I think we've drawn a Skull 3 times now on that test. So we discard another 3 cards. Get rid of a Rotting Remains, a Sentry of Secrets. And we will investigate as our final action, going 3v4. And if we can just fail by 1, we want to discover both clues at once because we want to discard only 1 card at random. So Chaos Bag says Tablet, that is a -1. And if you fail after this test resolves, draw the bottommost treachery in the discard, in the encounter discard. Okay, so we were going 3v4. We're at 2v4. So we can play... look what I found. To grab these 2 clues. And then this goes on the bottom of our discard pile. Bottom of deck. Okay. Flip that. Flip it over. Move to bottom of deck. Okay. And then because we failed, we have to draw the bottommost card of the bottommost treachery in the discard pile, which Diabolic Voices? Is that the one? Oh no, it's Bedeviled. Cannot trigger action abilities on cards we control. That is a bit of a problem. Because we want to get our flashlight back, right? Okay, so we put that in our threat area. We cannot trigger action abilities on cards we control. We don't have any besides the flashlight, which we kind of want in order to give ourselves a boost when we investigate at the woods or at the witch's circle. Now the timing here. A circle unbroken, we need 3 clues. The Night Howls, we're adding a doom for each witch on the witch's circle at the end of the round. We really need the flashlight out, which means we need to break the Bedeviled before we go anywhere. And preferably the Racked too. Okay, I just need to check something here. When does a net come? Because this involves the timing. So we put when we advance, we're going to put the circle into play. We spawn a net there. And when the enemy phase begins, we move witches there. So we want to trigger this during the enemy phase. So Annette shows up and she's the only witch. We move in and grab 2 of the 3 clues. I think that's, so yeah, we want to advance during the enemy phase so we can, Annette doesn't suck any witches into that spiral. All right, well, so we know what we have to do. Basically, I want to get rid of the Bedeviled, play a flashlight, and then move in and try to grab those clues. Enemy phase, we ready. We get our second copy of Drawing Thin. And that's going to be that. 7 out of 8 Doom. It is turn 7. We draw, we drew Ancient Evils. So that's that. So we advance. So we discard all but the last 5 cards of the encounter deck. The investigator with the most cards in his initiative draws the topmost witch enemy in the encounter discard pile. So there were only 10 cards left in the deck. So we look all cards. We get another witch. Where is this witch? There's a witch there. And when the witch arrives, we discard the other 2. So we get rid of the other Frozen in Fear. She's engaged with us, and that's that. Okay, 12 Doom. At the end of the round, place 1 Doom on the agenda for each witch enemy at the witch's circle. So our buddy the goat spawn is going to show up here. Now, how are we going to do this? It's just as soon as we're going to have 3 witches there, that's going to be 3 Doom a turn. We do have a survival instinct. So I think next turn, it is our turn here. So if we go we're going to have to deal with this witch. Then we're going to have to deal with the goat spawn and the witch next turn. Right? First action of next turn, say we play the survival instinct to evade the witch and the goat spawn and move to we evade the goat spawn to exhaust it and the witch, move to the witch's circle. Then we can take 2 actions to grab clues. And that will leave us with 1 clue. So then the following turn, we're going to have a net and 3 witches. So we could just take 1 investigate action, take a bunch of attacks of opportunity, and see if we can't finish it off. It's dicey. I always knew this part of the game was going to be the most difficult, but let's start off. We need to evade the witch, so we're going to go 5v2. We could drawing thin this to make it 4v2 or 5v4, but yeah, let's do that. We're going to drawing thin this. We're going to go 5v4, but then we're going to commit. So we're going to draw a card. Or do we want 2 resources? We want, I think, 2 resources in this case, because we've got that swift reflexes. So we're going to go 5v4, then we're going to go 7v4. Chaos Bag says skull, that's a -1. So we succeed. So the witch is evaded. And we get to draw a card due to manual dexterity. We get a rabbit's foot. Not a huge amount of help at this point. Decoy is still the top. I'm going to bring Decoy out just because I need to be able to see it. to make sure I don't forget that it's an option. So decoy is the top event of our discard pile for Wendy's amulet. Not entirely sure we're going to be able to pull that off. We'll see. Okay, so we need to deal with Bedeviled. Yeah, actually racked triggered there too, so it was -1. So that was -2. We were still okay. Racked triggered, we were fine. Okay, so now we need to get rid of the Bedeviled. So that is we're gonna commit the Rabbit's Foot and Drawing Thin to that. We're gonna go 6v3. Chaos Bag says tablet, that's a -1. So the Bedeviled is gone. And then we're gonna play the Flashlight for 2. And that's where we stand. At the end of our turn. The goat spawn will attack us during the enemy phase for a damage. During upkeep, now during the enemy phase, we need to advance. So we will spend 3 clues, to advance. So we bring out the Witch's Circle. And that brings out a net. Okay, so Witch's Circle comes down. Put the Witch's Circle into play in the center of the play area. A net spawns there at the end after the enemy phase begins. We're doing this during the enemy phase. Technically, we're doing this at the end of the enemy phase. We're advancing the act, so none of this nonsense triggers. We move. So we're going to move each ready witch enemy once toward the Witch's Circle. All right. So that was the enemy phase. During the upkeep, we draw investments, which obviously way too late in the game, but we can. It does have an intellect skill icon, which is valuable. And it's a card we can discard. All right. So what we're going to do each ready unengaged witch. Okay, so if we're going to only get 1 witch if we can exhaust both of these goons. All right, so here's the plan. We survive this Mythos phase. We evade the witch and the goat spawn using survival instinct to move us to the Witch's Circle. Then we take 2 investigate actions with the flashlight. We play Swift Reflexes to give us a 3rd, and we grab all the clues next turn. and cross our fingers that the Chaos Bag cooperates. And if we can do that, we can win. All right, so now we have to add, at the end of the round, place 1 doom for each witch. So there's 1 doom on the agenda. Now there is 2. It is turn 8. We draw Centuries of Secrets, test 5. For each point you fail by, discard the top card of the encounter deck. If a Cursed Treachery is discarded, deal 1 direct damage to your investigator and each ally. So we're going 4v5 on that one. Actually, Racked kicks in, so we're going 3v5. You know what? I think we just discard... Man, though, do we draw a card or take the resources? 16 cards? The thing I'm worried about is drawing the tower. If I draw the tower, I can't commit Survival Instinct, which I need to do. But an extra card gives Wendy an extra Chaos Bag pull, which is huge. Okay, we're going to Drawing Thin. So we're going to go, it's going to be 7. We're already, I mean, there's only 2 cards left in the encounter deck, so we were going to blow through it anyway. So for each point we fail by, so it's 7v3. Chaos Bag throws us a 0, so we're going to go 4. We're going to go... Oh, we'd have to draw our card first. We get a Belly of the... Oh, nice. Evade for a clue. That is huge. Nice timing. And that's pretty tough to evade, though. But if a witch does... we know a witch is going to move in next turn. So that gives us an option. In case we fail one of our skill tests, we can Belly of the Beast one of the Covenant Initiates and grab that last clue. Okay, so we discard the top 4 cards of the encounter deck. And if a Cursed Treachery is discarded, we deal 1 damage to our investigator. There is a Cursed Treachery. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we did discard a Cursed Treachery. We deal 1 direct damage to our investigator. Nothing we can do there. Okay. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Okay. This is the turn. We're going to win or who knows. So we're going to go Survival Instinct. We're going to commit Survival Instinct to this this evade. Now we want to evade the Covenant Initiate. So we're going 6v2. And if we are successful, we disengage from the goat spawn and move to a connecting location. Chaos Bag gives us a -1. So the goat spawn we disengage from, and the witch is evaded, and we move. We are going to investigate. We're going to take an attack of opportunity. Here's where things get risky. Take an attack of opportunity to go 3v1 right? Chaos Bag says -2, so we succeed. We get a clue. We do it again. So we have 0 actions left. We take another attack of opportunity. That's all we can do. We got the evade if we need it. Okay, so we're going 3v1 again. Elder Sign, that's an auto succeed. We grab a clue. Okay. Now, here's the trick. Do we go one more we can play Swift Reflexes to gain an extra action to investigate one more time. We'd have to take another attack of opportunity, which puts us at 5. The goat spawn and the witch are going to come this turn. Yeah, I say we go for it. I say we go for it. So we're going to play Swift Reflexes. It's fast, so we get an extra action. We're going to take another attack of opportunity. We're going to spend our final clue on Flashlight. If we don't win it here, we have a chance next turn with Belly of the Beast. Chaos Bag says 0. And that, my friends, is how you beat the Witching Hour without killing anything. Nice! Very nice. So, that was the Witching Hour with a Pacifist Wendy build, built only with 1 core set and all the cards from the Circle Undone expansion. That was a fun game. It was very important to get the timing right on that one, because otherwise it would have been you have to time it right, because otherwise at the end of this turn this witch moves up during the enemy. When does that witch move? At the beginning of the enemy phase? Yeah, so we would have taken we would have died. I didn't realize that. We would have died. So there you go. We would have died this turn. We would have taken 2 attacks, and that would have put us at 7, and we would have died. So good thing that worked, because otherwise we would have died. So yeah, that was a fun little game. Ended very quickly, only 8 turns. But the Pacifist build pulled it off. So cool. Thank you very much to Evron Luke for sharing the deck over at Arkham DB. I will leave a link to the deck in the description down below if you'd like to go and give it a try, or just give it a thumbs up so it gets a little bit more visibility on Arkham DB. That's always nice. Fascinating game. Really enjoyed this one. Who knows? Maybe we turn this into a campaign and see if we can't, if Wendy can't, see how far we can make it into the Circle Undone with this build. It's going to be tough with upgrades if we're only using core set and Circle Undone cards. That's going to be, we're going to have to look at it. I think a lot of the rogue cards are pretty good. Some of the rogue cards in the Circle Undone are pretty good. Core set survivor cards, I know Will to Survive is in there. That's pretty good. But of course, we don't have access to the upgraded Survival Instinct, which would be amazing. So I hope that you enjoyed this game of the day as much as I did. It was great to challenge myself and try to beat this scenario with with a pacifist-only deck. Thanks again to Ever and Luke for contributing it to Arkham DB. And I will be back tomorrow with another game of the day. I hope that you will join me then. Until then, I hope that you have a fantastic day and take care out there. That's going to do it for this episode. If you enjoyed what you hear, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. If you need to contact me, I can be reached at manfromlang@gmail.com. I'm also on Twitter at manfromlang. Until the stars are right, keep your shotgun close and your elder sign closer. Take care out there, and happy investigating.